Welcome everybody to episode 336 of the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Art Byram. I just got back from a trip to the White Mountains with a couple of my West Rock friends, Anna Garston and Josh Gaetjen. God, I'd like to buy a vowel, please. Okay. At any rate, we were climbing up Owl's Head when we met two of the most delightful and totally badass Canadian women you could ever imagine, Debbie and Krista. After chatting with them on the trail and then again at the summit, and after hearing just a few of their stories about bears, wolves, Arctic adventures, and their considered opinion on which is tougher, the Adirondacks or the Whites, and they definitely had opinions, I knew I had to get them on the show to share these tales with all of you guys. One quick heads up, the start of this episode is a little bumpy, and I just had dealt with a pretty big technical issue, so I was thrown off for a bit in the first couple minutes. We do warm up after a while, and I monkey edited most of it out. But if you're looking for a laugh, of course, I did include all that craziness at the end of the episode. Hope you guys enjoy this wonderful talk about the White Mountains, and here we go.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is fucking explicit and raw like the trails we run on, so don't listen with your kids! Cultra is brought to you by our Patreons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Culture Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Art Byram, and I am joined today by a bunch of special guests that we have. So I have kind of on the host side, I have somebody who is well known to the podcast. That's Anna G. Welcome, Anna Garston.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you here. And Josh. Now, here's the thing. I don't know if I've actually ever pronounced Josh's name, but I started looking at it. So I'm going to go with it here. It's Josh Gaetjen.
Perfect. Art. Great to be here.
Yeah. Glad to have you. So I noticed that you and Anna have very much, your last names are almost the same last name, but it's like in an alternate reality. Like they have the same number of letters. They start G-A, they end with an N, have a T and an E.
Yeah.
And it's like, so
very
I never noticed that. Yeah.
I never noticed that either.
I didn't either.
I know. So what's up with that? We want to know what is going on. Okay. So, and then we have fresh from Canadian Trail Fishing Magazine. We have coming in, we have Krista is joining us. So welcome, Krista.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. And I'm sorry, I didn't mention Krista's last name. It's Petrie. Is that correct?
It's Petrie, yeah.
Petrie. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. Well, now it's Petrie. So it's a thing. It's kind of something that I do. I tend to change people's names a little bit. So, there you go. So, and Deb, Clouthier?
Clouthier.
Clouthier. Okay.
Clouthier.
All right. This is good. So far, this is off to a wonderful start here. So, all right. So, and you guys are both from Canada, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are Canadians.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't meet in Canada. So, I think before, and I'm kind of jumping around tonight, so I apologize already. I kind of got a little bit thrown off by the intro tonight. But I thought that I'm going to start with our hosts a little bit, just so that to get a little bit of background information on them. And then I'm going to talk about or maybe we can all talk about how we all met, right? Because I think it was kind of a magical meeting. So Anna, let's start with you. I know that, lots of people hear your name in the Patreon list, Anna G, or as I say sometimes, hi, Anna G.
Love it. Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us, if you could please introduce yourself.
Sure. Yes. I live in North Haven, Connecticut, right outside New Haven. And I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by lots of awesome trail runners and trails. I frequent Sleeping Giant, East Rock, West Rock, other local places. And I run a lot with Josh and the Ramblers. I've done, various events in Connecticut put on by the trail mixers and striders and all that. And Art, I think I met you, or I spoke to you at length for the first time during the Connecticut AT Marathon. I think that was the first time we talked at length in the Northwest corner. And then we were running together at Sleeping Giant, like a joint Rambler trail mixer thing. I've been listening to the podcast actually since I started listening to podcasts, which is only a couple of years ago. But since I started listening to podcasts, I've been listening to the Cultra and really enjoying it because, know the players and love hearing about new places and new adventures. And I love the rocky, hilly stuff. I don't really, I like to hike probably more than I like to run, but I like kind of a half hike, half run. That's my my jam. So that's me.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I find that really if you're running at Sleeping Giant on a regular basis, that takes a different type of person to wake up and face that every time. That's the people who, in my opinion, the people who live in the Whites might have somewhat of a similar experience where they're going after just rugged terrain and it's not super flowy in most spots. It's lots of times your hands are on the ground when you're running. So
love it. That's the best.
So you are you are a wonderful inspiration when I think about lots of times I look at trails like that and I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. And that's I get intimidated, I guess, but once I'm out there, I for the most part like it, unless it's Owl's Head Slide. But yeah, you're definitely an inspiration because you kind of seek out stuff like that. So very good. And Josh, let's if you could please introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, I am from Hamden. I grew up in Wallingford. Actually, I grew up hiking Sleeping Giant. I can remember being carried on my dad's back hiking Sleeping Giant when I must have been 3 or 4. And like Anna, I spent a lot of time running at Sleeping Giant, West Rock, East Rock, and I love going up to the Whites. And I've recently kind of gotten hooked on doing trips to the Whites, and that's where we met the slow Canadian hikers was when we were up last week on a Tuesday.
Gotcha. So Josh, just to let's pretend that all of our listeners are not completely up to speed on everything. I know that's not the case, but when you say running the Whites, so is there a plan that you have or a certain peaks that you're trying to hit or anything like that? Maybe you could kind of explain that process that you're going after.
Yeah, there are, as some people may know, there are 48 4,000 foot peaks in the Whites.
Yeah, they all know that, Josh.
Okay.
They should.
And I am trying to get all those peaks done. And you guys kindly came up to New Hampshire with me last week, and we got Owl's Head in for 47. So I have one more peak left at Isolation. And yeah, every time I go up there, I'm just more and more in love with the mountains there and spending time there. And I'm itching to go back. So I don't know if our Canadian slow hiker friends are going to come in for when I have to do Isolation, but we could try to arrange something with Debbie and Krista. Yeah, I've been running for a while. I think I did my first 50K in 2019, and I completed my first 100 last summer doing the Vermont 100.
Yeah, very good.
CV or running.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Did you ever run roads, Josh, or no?
I've run on some roads, but I've never done races. Or when I was a kid, I did some 5Ks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Trail guy.
All right, but never a road marathon even.
never a road marathon.
Gotta love it, right? Somebody goes out and does 100 miles of trails with 17,000 feet of vert and has never touched a road marathon. That's great. That's, there's lots of people out there cheering right now and, going and ordering Josh t-shirts. So that's great. So I'd like to talk to our guests, and I thought that before we talked about hiking specifically and the mountains, I know you guys share a love of the mountains. I thought maybe we could kind of talk about your background, because I always like to find out what brought people, how you arrived there, what happened before to make you even want to go do something difficult, right? Because there's like lots of people who like to stay home and watch TV, watch Fox News and complain, right? Or you guys watch the CDC? Is that what it is? What's it called?
CBC.
Yes. Yeah. Not the BBC, right?
BBC.
Yes.
Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Yes. Yep. So, Krista, why don't if we could start with you, maybe you could tell us where were you born and where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up around the Ottawa area in Ontario, so around the capital, and I grew up in an outdoorsy family. I started playing, in terms of endurance sports, I started playing soccer at a competitive level when I was young, and I continued to play soccer all the way through into a collegiate level. So I know I was running 2 hours, 3 hours a day, most of those days, through my 4 years of university. And then I blew out my knee, ACL. So that's a sort of typical injury for female soccer players. And retired from that after my college years were done, and then got into adventure racing. And that kind of got through most of my 20s. And in that time, I sort of adopted a lot of endurance activities like skiing and cycling and swimming and that kind of thing. So I've been doing that mainly for the last 30 or so years. So I do a lot of so I swim a couple times a week. I do a lot of road cycling to stay in shape. And I teach phys ed as a profession, and teach outdoor ed as a profession as well. And and then sort of gravitated to hiking. I actually have had a couple more knee surgeries since my initial one when I was 24. So with a couple blown out knees and definitely some blown out ankles, my running days are sort of over, but I still try to push myself with anything I can, into marathon canoeing, into the hiking peaks.
Hold on, wait. Time out. So marathon canoeing, I'm known to paddle a canoe pretty well around these parts. So tell us about marathon canoeing. What is that all about?
Yeah, so marathon canoeing has a variety of distances. Some of the races are an hour, some of them are multiple days long. It depends on where and what kind of challenge you're looking for. Essentially, you use a really light, 8-ounce carbon fiber paddle that's pretty short. It's got a kind of bent angle at it. You're normally racing in what looks like a normal tandem canoe, but it's made out of carbon fiber, but it's 18.5 feet long, and it's faster than a normal canoe would be. And you basically switch sides of the canoe that you're paddling on about every 6 to 10 strokes. So it ends up being about 65 strokes a minute. It's pretty fast and it's continuous. So there's not a lot of steering. It's not a lot of steering strokes. It's just a lot of fast paced forward motion. And that continues for hours and hours and hours. So
wow.
Yeah.
And so you said the paddle is bent so that it automatically feathers for you. Is that right?
It's more of just where the power phase of the paddle engages, and it creates more power.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what's the longest race that you've done in that?
Yeah, so I was just starting to get into that. And then my partner, who is my husband, is currently injured as well and getting surgery tomorrow. So we've made it up to about 8-hour races. So yeah.
And how So is it, if
So,
they're timed races, then is it a point to point or a loop course or an out and back, or how does that work?
yeah, so it depends on the totally depends on the race. So like in Ontario here around this area of the world, you might get things like a series of lakes and portages that you have to do in a loop. Sometimes there are like longer races that are just on rivers. So you could go up north to Whitehorse in the Yukon and do
Mm-hmm.
a 715-kilometer race on a river. So there's no portages. You just go for 24 hours approximately. You get a 10-hour break, and then you do another 24 hours straight paddling and yeah, finish the 715 kilometers. So yeah.
Wow. That sounds amazing. Now, how many people take part in a typical, in these races? Like, what are the field sizes generally?
Yeah, so you get about a few hundred. It's like kind of a niche sport. You don't get as many as you would probably in an
That's a lot.
alternative.
That's
Yeah,
an awful lot. I have to say, when I asked the question, I was thinking you were going to say, "Oh, we get 20 people who want to like stay up for 24 hours and paddle, and or maybe 100." But I mean, maybe, but that's wow. So you get a couple hundred people who do that, huh?
yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
it's been fun. Yeah, it's definitely been a focus for the last couple of years for me. But it's
Hmm.
like again, I'm one of these multi-sport people who I'm hiking a mountain one weekend and then yeah, kind of
Yeah.
switching it up all the time.
Gotcha. Okay, that's something. Yeah, I think running has gotten a lot of soccer players. I think our sport certainly. That's uh, lots of from high school on in. Some of our best competitors originated from soccer. So
Oh,
um,
most definitely. Yeah.
but no hockey, right? I got to throw in like the stereotypical Canadian question there, like no hockey. So
Yeah. Definitely
uh,
more of an anaerobic sport hockey is. So yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
not so great with the
slow
trail
twitch.
running. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And you said your family also they were outdoorsy as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I grew up camping and doing a lot of outdoorsy activities. I was also
Mm.
involved in like Girl Guides and
Hmm.
I guess it would be Girl Scouts in the States.
Yeah, very good.
And then Debbie and I met through mutual friends, but we also were members of like or are members of the Alpine Club of Canada. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Well, that's a great introduction, and thank you for that. Deb, maybe we could go to you, and if you wouldn't mind telling us where were you born, and what was your childhood like?
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Deb. I was born and raised in the Ottawa Valley in Ontario on a rural farm, a standardbred racehorse farm, as a matter of fact.
Mm.
I'm from a big family, so we were all sporty. There's 10 in my family, and so we had no problem forming our own ball teams and hockey teams and this, that, and the other. I've always been very active. Um, for about 25 years, I was a cook up in the high Arctic regions of Canada for science camps. Um, and when I retired from that in 2009, I joined the Alpine Club of Canada because I knew I wanted to be active. And
Deb, could I want to interrupt you. I apologize, but just to
yeah,
let's you. So you mentioned that like that's like to me, it's hard to just like roll over that. And I don't want that to get lost there. Like, yeah, I hung out in the North Pole for a while. And so,
pretty
so
close.
tell us about that. How far were you away from the North Pole?
The last 5 years, I was in a place called Eureka on Ellesmere Island at latitude north of 80 degrees north. So the
Okay.
North Pole's at 90. We'd get in a lot of the North Pole expeditions in our
Mm-hmm.
remote weather station on Ellesmere Island, and I would cook for them. So
Hmm.
I got to, yeah, see what was going on, but it was mostly science and research along the way, from mapping and surveying in the high Arctic islands and living in tents and flying in helicopters and twin otters to
Mm-hmm.
permanent camps in a place called Tuktoyaktuk up in the Beaufort Sea. I was there for about 15 years and then went over to a place called Resolute Bay on Cornwallis Island for several years, and then eventually ended up on Ellesmere Island, which is quite high north, but I had the good pleasure of being introduced to all the wildlife, and that was definitely right up my alley. Camping in tents and feeding these wonderful people and finding out about their projects along the way.
Yeah. So what was a typical day like there? Now, I mean, I picture like at times it was dark for extended periods. At times it was light for extended periods. And is that accurate? And what was, what was your typical day like at some of these places?
It is called Land of the Midnight Sun for a reason. My last place on Ellesmere Island, we would have complete darkness and a full moon at noon, starting at about late October, and the sun would rise again about the first week of February. So it was dark right around the clock and very cold as well. Yeah.
Wow. How did you deal with? Were you able to deal with that okay, or how tough was that to deal with?
Some people have problems with complete darkness, and we have rooms set up with satellites, they're called. These lights that you can sit under that resemble sunlight. I never seem to have a problem. I don't know why with it. I thought I was the lucky one to be there, that not everyone could experience this. And that was the attitude I always had and maintained throughout all of my cooking career, that they're paying me to keep in shape and to go up there and experience this. I felt like I was truly the lucky one. I work 7 days a week, sometimes 10 to sometimes 18 hours a day, depending on when Twin Otters would get back late at night, and other crews were flying in.
Wow, that sounds so it sounds like a lot. You're not a stranger to, I mean, from growing up on a farm, I know from firsthand experience that you kind of experience your own reality, and things aren't perceived as tough until you compare them maybe to what other people are doing. So I know that, we would just at my household, we would just like work, right? We would, certainly on the weekends, it was like, we would be digging a ditch to run a water line or clearing out, shoveling out something or building something or putting a roof on something or fixing something. So
you got it. You know what I'm talking about. There's always something to be doing on a farm. There was never an idle moment. Always something to be done. Yeah. So I grew up with a strong work ethic, and I took that into the north, and it played me well. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Actually, one of the scientists did comment once that it was clear to him that I grew up in a strong work ethic, because you needed one when you were up there. And a good attitude too. So
Deb, did you live up there year round?
For about the first 15 years, it was seasonal. So I was up there 6 months a year. And when darkness came in September, they closed the camp down completely. And I would come home to my place in Ontario. I bought land in Ontario, and I built a log house. So I had my hands full when I came back to the land of the living back here in the valley, in the Ottawa Valley of Ontario. But And
then did you end up staying up there year round at any point?
That's right. Up on Ellesmere Island, it was rotational, and it was 12 months a year, 3 months in, 3 months out. And I had it whittled down to 2 months in, 2 months out in the latter part of my cooking career.
Okay.
So
So you spent some periods up there between October and whenever it was that you were in the night. It was.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. I have pictures of the full moon at noon. Yes.
And then you were also up there when it was daylight 24 hours too.
And that would happen about the first week of March, complete sunlight, and it would transition very quickly. Yes. Oh, yes.
Now, was that difficult in any way, or were there any special challenges with living in all daylight?
Well, you'd have to pull your blind at night if you wanted to sleep. It was quite bright.
Sure.
Yeah. And again, some of the folks, they would tape the blind to the wall, to the window to keep out all the light. I was never bothered too much by that. I always said it was just a state of mind. So, it was interesting though. Yeah, never got dark in the March through to October, and then the sun went fast after that, and the cold would seep in.
Yeah, I was in Iceland one time, and it was just Iceland and Finland, and both of those were pretty light. And it was you know, it was pretty cool to see, like, let's watch the sunset at like 10:30 at night or something like that. So you know, it was pretty exciting. So
I retired from that in 2009, and then I joined the Alpine Club of Canada and met Krista, and we're definitely like-minded souls. Krista shortly got me into rock climbing and ice climbing and mountaineering, and we were all over Canada and the Rockies doing alpine touring, skiing, and climbing mountains. And so I definitely have a love of it.
Do you guys remember the first time that you went out on a trip together? And maybe you could kind of, if there's a story that goes along with that, maybe you could, Krista, maybe we can go to you. Do you have a recollection of that offhand?
Yeah,
Put
I think
on the spot.
one of the first, I think one of the first ones that we did, we were hiking into the Santanoni Range in the Adirondacks. Yeah, Deb's laughing. Yeah, so we decided that we were going to go into the Santanoni Range. This range is really composed of 3 peaks in the Adirondacks at over 4,000 feet. So we were trying to hit all 3. It was February. It was very cold, way below 0, or way below, I guess it would be freezing, I'll just say.
Yes.
And quite cold. So we ended up heading off to the most remote peak of the 3. It's called Kuchastraga, or people just call it Coochie in the Adirondacks. And on the way out there, these are like herd paths, so they're not really marked paths. So in the Adirondacks, in the wintertime especially, they can be really difficult to navigate because there's no way to tell if you're on the right path or not. And we did get a little bit mixed up in terms of finding the route. And so that particular day, we just couldn't find the way there, and we weren't really using proper like GPS. We did have a compass and a map. I did have my like little sports kind of GPS. I was tracking like the route, but it wasn't really showing me at that time. Like the maps weren't great in 2009, right? So it was just showing this little line on a blank screen, right? So it really wasn't helping us navigate. So we ended up having to turn around, take a back bearing, and get us back to sort of more of the marked trails and sort of where we knew we were. But that failed attempt has been my only failed attempt on the summit in my whole like mountain northeast career, I'll call it. And we learned a lot from that failure, I think, Deb and I. And we sort of have gained a lot of wisdom, especially traveling in the winter in those remote areas.
Gotcha. Now, Deb, with your experience in the north, did you do any climbing, or what was your outdoor experience when you were working as a cook? Did you get out into the outdoors very much?
Each and every day after I cooked, it did not matter what the temperature was, I would go for a jog. I always went for a jog every day. And at some point, the mechanic decided that he was going to get in shape and he was going to jog with me. And I said, well, okay, then let's go. So even in the wintertime, we wouldn't jog so much because it was too cold. It was minus 50. But you'd have to take bear spray and always a radio and sign yourself in and out of the station because of the polar bear watch. And we would walk every day. We never missed a day. Walk a couple of kilometers, maybe a couple of miles to you, and never missed. But there was no climbing up there. I work 7 days a week. So on occasion, though, when I convinced the cleaner to take over the kitchen for a few hours, we would jump on the skidoos and we would go and explore. So we would island hop in the high Arctic, mostly following polar bear tracks just to see where they would go and explore. So, yeah.
Wow. That's got to be an exciting thing. Now, did you, was there anything that you found up there that really surprised you?
Yes, in the summertime on Ellesmere Island, we took the four-wheelers one late afternoon, early evening after the day was done and it was bright daylight. And we decided that we would attempt to find the wolf den, the Arctic wolf den.
As one
And
does, right? Like, let's go to the wolf den, right? I mean, I'd like go to a
Exactly
wolf
what I was
hockey
thinking.
game. I mean, like wolf den. It's either that or like, let's go try to kiss a wolverine, right? I mean, that's another
I've seen
option.
those too.
Oh my gosh. You saw
And
wolverines?
we found it. We found it. We did.
You found the wolf den.
We found the wolf den. It was really exciting. We didn't go too close because there was young pups. And how the Arctic wolves work is when they go off to hunt, they always leave one of the older female wolves to stand guard over the pups.
She-wolf.
The she-wolf.
Oh
the
my
auntie.
gosh.
It was
Yes.
the auntie. So they all, that was really pretty precious. So I'll never forget because they all started howling. Even the little wee pups were howling. And we just thought this was remarkable that we actually found their den, which was in a series of rock caves. So that was pretty exciting.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like it. Now, did you say that you also saw wolverines? Is that right?
Yes, I have seen wolverines in the Arctic.
Wow. Because I read a book on for some reason I read a book on wolverines. And it was fascinating. I was just absolutely floored by them because they are like people think, oh yeah, they're just like a porcupine or like a little badger or something like that. But wolverines are like, they are from everything that I read, they have lots of endearing qualities, but they will just like fight anything, chew through anything, have a range of over 100 miles. They'll climb up mountains in the middle. They'll climb up glaciers and mountains in the middle of the winter and go to the peak for no apparent reason. And they'll fight anything. They don't care. They're the biggest badasses out there.
It's so true. And once I organized a hike for 4 of us in 2013 to hike into a remote area called the Nahanni Range. It's famous for whitewater canoeing and rafting. But I decided as a hiker that I was going to organize this. Took me about a year to organize the logistics of it. But as the float plane dropped us off at this remote lake and we are starting to navigate through and across and over the mountains and the glacier, we spotted a wolverine, but my friend in front thought it was a bear because it was that big. And it wasn't far in front of us. It didn't see or hear us coming, but I'll never forget having seen that wolverine right in front of us. It was quite a remarkable sight. And it was quite big.
Yeah. I mean, they have like, their paws are like, from everything I've read, their paws are like snowshoes, right?
Yeah.
And they're, that's incredible to actually see them because there's at least in Glastonbury, Connecticut, there's not many wolverines, I mean,
no, they tend to go north a little bit more.
They do.
Remote areas.
Yes. Yeah.
Deb, can I ask you a question about all these animals?
Sure.
You seem very joyful about them, which it must have been amazing to see all of them. But was there any sense of fear? Like, you don't seem fearful. You're not sounding, fearful at all when you're talking about them. I'm just curious about, that emotion in you. Do you think you're sort of immune to that because you're so like in such marvel over the nature? Or
I have more fear of a dog chasing me on a bike here in the Ottawa Valley than I do of a polar bear. We did in Eureka have a polar bear come right up to the window and more or less saying, "What's for supper?" That was pretty funny. But Krista knows this story. I have a great wolf story. I won't even get into it, but I do not seem to have fear. Maybe that's a bad thing. But we had a visiting wolf gang that came over from an island called Axel Heiberg Island to our island called Ellesmere Island. And they were attacking the pack that lived near our weather station. They would go to the dump and forage for food. And this pack was going to take them over, and they're very territorial. And they were attacking the female who had 4 pups of our friendly pack that lived close to our weather station. And this is a wolf that would run beside me as I jogged every night. I never touched it, but they were attacking her, and I jumped into the middle of a wolf attack with a pot and a steel spoon to save her. And I did.
Oh my gosh.
So that was pretty exciting. I could almost write a book about that story, Anna.
We could have a whole podcast on that.
Yes.
It was pretty exciting.
Wow.
The story
Impressive.
in a nutshell. Yeah.
That is really
So
impressive.
I had no fear. I don't know what possessed me. It was just, I had a war cry to me when I jumped into the middle of it.
Wow. That's I don't even know what to say about that. That's incredible. So as far as the bears, did you ever have to use your bear spray?
Never.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Anna actually is pretty good with the bear spray. So if you ever need any, she's got usually she's got 1 or 2 canisters on her. So
True.
How'd it go, Anna?
I'm inspired. Yeah, I was going to ask about the two of you if you've seen many bears in the Adirondacks, or I'm a little bit paranoid about bears, but I've not really seen any in the East. So I'm just, I don't know if you guys have a lot of bear encounters or.
Well, Krista should pick up on this story about our grizzlies.
Grizzly stories.
Grizzlies.
Okay.
Yeah. Which
story? I organized a hike in the Yukon, the Donchak Glacier.
Oh, okay, yeah, those, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are we saying which? Just a second. Are we asking which grizzlies story we're going to tell?
Which bear story?
Okay.
Yeah, they have 10 bear stories.
10 bear stories. Okay. I see what you did.
I have a few bear stories.
Let's ride with this. And I like this.
And just to say, Anna, I did bring bear spray with us into Owl's Head last week.
Yeah.
Probably one of the only times I've ever brought bear spray with me on a hike in the Northeast, just because of the Pemmy bear that's been roaming around there this summer. But the grizzly story, Deb and I did a 120 kilometers. So what would that be like?
In miles.
90
miles? 90 miles?
70, 80
some miles?
Yeah. Ish hike. It's on an unmarked trail in Kluane National Park, which is sort of on the border between the Yukon and Alaska. It's kind of in the same Denali and Mount Logan range. It's on the Canadian side of that park where that mountain range where the highest Canadian peak and the highest US peak live. So we did this hike in backpacked into a glacier in just sort of at the foot, near the foot of that range. And it's one of the largest non-polar ice fields in North America. So we did this over an 8-day hike, I believe, Deb. And unfortunately, Kluane National Park is known as having one of the densest grizzly bear habitats in all of North America. So you couldn't take really more than 2 steps without seeing some kind of bear sign. So Anna, this might be your nightmare, but but yeah, there was bear scat everywhere and bear sign everywhere. So we were a group of 6. So we made sure that we were constantly making noise. And the couple times that we weren't making noise, it was because we were eating, and we were also situated right beside a creek or a small river, which was making its own noise. And we had 2 bear encounters on that particular trip with grizzlies. So one time it was after dinner. We had packed up our food. We had stored it for the evening. We had to bring bear barrels into this particular remote area. So everything was secure. And but unfortunately, where we had camped, because this trail doesn't have, it's just more of a route. It's not a trail, and it doesn't have designated camping areas. You had to make your own. And the second night we selected poorly, so it wasn't a good visual. We couldn't see far away, and as we were just chatting by the river after dinner, unfortunately, this male grizzly came around the corner and kind of startled us. And I saw it first just because I was telling a story and facing one way and everyone else was looking the other way. And I popped up and everyone popped up. And so we kind of all had our bear spray near us, just because we knew that the possibility of encountering a grizzly bear in that particular area was pretty high. I think Deb grabbed her camera, and another friend like grabbed some bear bangers, and we set one of those bear bangers off, and it took off. But unfortunately kind of lingered around a little bit. So that entire night we set up bear watches. So 2 of us would stay up so that everyone else could sleep with like 2 eyes closed. And then we rotated every couple of hours just so we could all get a little bit of shut eye. And then later on in the trip, we had another encounter again, but this time it was at lunch, and that particular bear did do what it's supposed to do, which is run away when it saw humans. So that was a good thing there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. So again, the bang, is that it's like a shotgun blast or a noisemaker? Is that correct?
Yeah, it sounds like a firecracker going off.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But it shot up in the air. So it shot up in the air, and you have to be careful of the trajectory because you don't want it to explode and land like on the far side of the bear and make the bear run towards you.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Straight up.
Right? Don't you guys, right? When the bear runs towards you, like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that particular route is called the Don Jack Glacier route in Kluane National Park. Really cool.
So just to kind of what should one do when they encounter a polar bear versus a grizzly bear? Do you guys
run like hell?
Yeah. Are there different ways to handle those?
Well, polar bears, you never play dead. You have to be very, very aggressive. You try to get out of there as quick as you can, and just they will attack you. Polar bears will.
Yeah, so you can't play dead. Like
no. It's coming for dinner.
Gotcha. And like around here, like a black bear, you would generally want to be as loud as you can, make yourself as big as possible. Assuming that there's no other circumstance such as, cubs or, other things like that you might take into consideration, for being too aggressive. But now like so that's for a polar bear. Now, how about a grizzly? Are you just going with your defensive measures? Is that your primary defense, like being aware that they're going to be there, not doing anything stupid like food stupid, and then what do you do with that, Krista?
Yeah, so obviously, like in bear country, like especially grizzly bear country, you want to be loud, right? Like I think the statistics show that most of the attacks are on solo hikers, solo cyclists, so that kind of thing, because they're not making enough noise. Yeah. So being in a large group and shouting out and making lots of noise to give them warning that you're coming is definitely a good idea. And then obviously, as you mentioned, like being smart about your food storage and making sure. So different places like up north, like there's not a lot of trees, there's a lot more tundra, so we don't like have the opportunity to hang food like we would maybe in the Northeast, right? So we sometimes will leave them in in canoe. I've been on some canoe trips up north and some hikes, and we put them in sort of bear safe-ish containers, like bear barrels and that kind of thing, and we make sure that they're like a good maybe 300 feet away from your kitchen area, and your kitchen area is another 300 feet away from like where your tents are, that kind of thing. So we just had to make sure that you deter it as much as possible. But like most bears, and any bear that I've mainly encountered, most of them, not all of them, but most of them will run away, right? Like they are afraid of humans, they're spooked, they don't like the sight of you, and they should take off, right? And the ones that need a little bit more convincing, maybe you do make yourself look big and yell a little more, but yeah, for the most part, they should do what they should naturally do, is just take off. But there are some trouble bears like this one in the Penny Range.
Yeah, what are you guys hearing about that specifically? Because I saw the signs when I was there, but I hadn't heard the lowdown on the bear.
So I've been following some Facebook posts like in some of the White Mountain pages over the summer, and just noticed that it's been a problematic bear. It seems to have identified that hikers or anybody trail running with some sort of pack has food in it, and is now associated people walking with packs with food, so it won't sort of go away, right? And it's not reacting to loud noises and whistles or any deterrents. And apparently it was getting into people's tents in the Franconia Notch campground and up at Liberty Springs, and it was becoming a problem bear, right? So they decided to shut down Franconia Notch campground there, just off like near Lincoln Woods. And and it seems to have in the last maybe few weeks seems to disappeared. Maybe that was coinciding with berry season, and now it has its own food to find, but I don't know. But I haven't heard too much lately, but definitely in the earlier part of the summer it was a problem.
Yeah, it is scary when I've had it's only happened to me once, where a bear does not do its typical, oh my God, it's a person, get me the heck out of here. That's only ever happened to me once, and it was terrifying, and it set me back a bit. Like the next time I went into the woods, I was very very much on edge, because I probably had I'm going to say it was 10 minutes. It might have been 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour standoff with the bear, huffing and cubs going up trees and bears standing up and scratching and doing all sorts of things you don't want to see it doing. So, okay. So,
I want to jump in with a question.
Please. Yeah.
Deb and Krista, how many, if any, bears have you run into in doing your Northeast 111 trips?
Yeah. I think probably the most notable one was in the Adirondacks. The Adirondacks, the campgrounds in the High Peaks Wilderness are not bookable, so it's first come first serve, and they get pretty crowded at certain times of the year. And there's like a little bit of a lack of management there. So some of the bears, I don't know if you've heard of the very famous yellow bear that had 2 yellow tags on its ears. She was a really famous bear who kind of got into bear barrels, like the screw ones that look like a peanut butter jar, and taught her cubs how to get into those. Yeah, she was really amazing. Yeah, she could get into anything. So she created this whole like genetic pool of like bears that could be able to do it. So the Adirondacks had to like double down.
Oh my gosh. It's like they're getting sent away to the joint, right? And you kind of learn from each other. It's a whole syndicate.
Yeah. Right? So the Adirondacks doubled down, and they made the regulations a bit more stringent. The bear canisters that they use there are like difficult to get into. You need like a little like point of a knife or like a coin or something to open up. Those are kind of more tricky ones. And they also make it mandatory that during bear season you're carrying these because of the bear problems that they've had. So Deb and I we're hiking there during the week, and we were the only ones left camping in this campsite. And we got a visit from Mama Bear and some cubs in the middle of the night, and they did not want to leave. Even though our food was properly stored in a bear barrel, it was way away from our campsite. But they didn't leave all night. They just came back and back and back. And they just, the mama was smart, actually. She sent the cubs in to the campsite to distract her from going out looking up for the food around the campsite. Because she even knew that like campers would be storing their food off-site, and she just stuck around all night. So we didn't sleep a lot that night, and we got up right at first light and got out of there. But those are the ones that are a bit more scary to me, the ones that are human habituated, have learned where to get food, maybe have gotten fed from hikers before. Those are the scary ones for sure.
Yeah, and those were all black bears, right?
Yeah, all black.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that's okay. So there's a lesson there, right? I mean, I saw bears. There's a place called Wawayanda, which is kind of just off of the AT, kind of near Greenwood Lake, New York, New Jersey border. And there's they go into the campsites quite often. I've had them walk up to our breakfast table. You all of a sudden look up and there's like 3 bears approaching from all different directions, converging, and just pulled a box of Fruit Loops right out of the grocery bag. And because we were car camping, so we didn't spend we didn't think much about it, and it was years ago, certainly. So boy, interesting. So let's talk about some of the projects that you guys have going on now. So you're kind of out there hiking together, and what are you guys getting after right now, and how far along are you in those projects?
Well, I'm working towards the Northeast 111, but really 115 peak list. So that includes all the 4,000-foot peaks in New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And I have completed 110 out of the 115. So I have 5 left, and Deb and I are going back this weekend to finish that.
What 5 do you have left?
I have the 3 Carters and the 2 Wildcats.
Oh, okay. So you're going to be in New Hampshire next weekend. Is that right?
Right across from Isolation.
I
know. Isolation.
Well, and Deb, you have done all those. You have done all the Northeast 111 or 115 already. Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
You're on your 4th round. Is that correct?
No. I just go whenever I'm invited. I am a 115er. I completed that list in 2017. So very proud. When I became a hiker, I just went cuckoo crazy for the mountains. I love the mountains, anything to do with them. So when I get invited, and Krista's been inviting me a lot, so I jump in with her and away we go, because I still can.
Very good. And you can very well. So I'm surprised that the number's not 112 somehow. I find that shocking that it's like goes from like 111 to 115 and like jumps over 112 like it's not even there somehow, which is kind of curious to me. But we'll see how it settles. So
Deb isn't really telling the whole story. Like, she's done multiple rounds of the Adirondack 46. She's done most of the 115 multiple times. There's only a few peaks she's only done once, but most of them she's done multiple times. So it's a pretty impressive list.
So Deb, like, one thing stands out. So we were all hiking. We were all on our way to Owl's Head. And for those who don't know, Owl's Head starts out, the typical approach starts out from the same way that a Pemi Loop would, right? You start from Lincoln Woods and you go along a flat trail. And then there's a little trail off of that for Black Pond, like a bypass, a bushwhack, I guess they call it, bushwhack. And so we stopped at Black Pond, or I guess we passed you guys briefly. Yes, just before Black Pond, and then we all met up at Black Pond. You guys caught up to us because even though we ran past you, you caught up to us. We took some pictures, and then it seemed like I can't even keep track of how many times we passed you, and then
we were tag teaming.
we get up to but it's not in the typical way. Like, usually if you pass somebody and then they'll pass you, right? But that wasn't happening to us most of the time. Like, most of the time we would pass you and then we would go further up the trail, and then there you were.
We became friends real quick.
And we knew you were just slow hikers. You weren't like trail runners. Like, we were like fast and all that stuff. but like, yeah, so we work our way up to, we took the slide up Owl's Head, and all of a sudden we get to the peak, and you guys are already there. So
That was cute. Yeah.
that was amazing. That was an amazing moment. And I'm sure we can talk about that a little bit more. So our joke became that you guys were the fastest slow hikers we ever saw in our lives, because
When we got to the summit, we were looking for you, and I said to Krista, "Wow, where are they?
yeah.
Maybe they went down the other side." Then we could hear you because you were the happy group. You were just, you were verbal, you were laughing, you were connecting, you were having a great time out there. We could
Yes.
hear you coming up the trail, and then we saw you, and I think my comment was, "Well, what took you so long?"
yes. I think what took us so long was they were consoling me on the slide on Owl's Head as I was crying and begging to be put out of my misery.
I've been up that slide in snowshoes.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh.
Yeah. It was yeah, I learned something that day. I learned like my little takeaway from that, because ideally you learn something every time you go out, was that I use single vision glasses to go running with. And I really learned that if you're going to be doing a climb where it's on all fours, where you're scrambling like that for any extended period of time, I need the full range. I need like a transit, like not a bifocal, what do you call them? Transitions, right?
Progressive.
Progressives. Thank you. I can never remember which is which. So the progressives. So yeah, I need progressive lenses. Otherwise, like I started to get nauseous on the side of the mountain there. And amongst other things, that was one of the things that was getting me. And
have you been up the North Trip slide? And if not, bring those glasses.
Yes. So is
the tri-pyramid slide, you mean, probably, right? Yeah.
Is that right after? I always forget if that's not the one that's right after on the Pemi Loop, right after the hut.
No, it's out of Waterville Valley.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I haven't been there yet. I'm only at 28 now, so working my way there. So
nice.
So let's talk some more about so you have a couple more to go here, right? And so boy, Deb, there's a lot of things that I'd like to talk to you about.
I'm going to jump in as the gears are turning.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Are you guys going to finish up all those peaks this coming weekend? Is that the plan?
Yeah, my plan is Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
What's the order? Like, what's the actual last peak going to be?
Well, this is up for debate still, but I am thinking Middle Carter, just because maybe it has a view. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that. I was going to defer to Deb.
Now, you guys, you're not planning on doing the Wildcats from that route from beginning to end right down the line, right? Or are you going to come out of the mountains and then go back up, or what's the thought?
Yeah, we were thinking about staying at the hut in the middle, but it's booked out. So
yeah.
Oh,
so we'll probably do the 2 Wildcats, come down, spend a night at the campground, and then go back up and get the Carters. I'm thinking that's how it's going to work. So in 2 days instead of one great big day, although could be open to that. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
It'd be a big day.
It looks like the weather is nicer on Sunday in this coming weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much attention do you guys pay to the weather generally? Like,
we do.
How do you guys approach that?
Yeah. Definitely on the mountain forecast a lot of the time, especially if you're in a big range with like open bald summits and lots of high wind possibilities. I'd say the winter is a little bit more I guess weather intensive, just to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into and you're prepared for it.
Yeah. I think it's attention to the weather. You do. So you guys, would you have you ever said, well, hey, we were going to hike today, but we're not going to, so we're going to put it off till
definitely
another day? Good.
Absolutely.
I think that makes a lot of sense. As I guess probably most of our listeners know, being from the Northeast, Mount Washington, I think, is arguably has recorded the fastest or the highest wind speeds. People have died from exposure every month of the year. It doesn't matter, at different times. People have died of exposure in July, right? Or August. So it's pretty crazy. So you need to, you don't want to just wing it there. You want to, you want to learn, take your time and learn there. It's not a joke, right? So,
weather, have to watch the weather.
And I think like one of the questions I actually would have for you guys is like as a hiker, for me, like we always make sure that we have our 10 essentials and we're worried, but like I'm also like an outdoor educator, and so I'm a kind of a closet sort of like search and rescue, like fetish or interest or whatever you want to call it. Like I do follow the fish and game reports from the New Hampshire. I've read a lot of like I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Ty Gagne or Ty Gagne's books about some of the the big deaths in the Whites, and amongst other like tales from other mountain areas. And one of the repetitive things in a lot of these stories is that you have to be prepared to stay out for about 24 hours before a lot of these people get rescued. And as hikers, we tend to like pack a bit more heavy, even though like I'd call myself more of a lightweight, ultra lightweight backpacker hiker. But as trail runners, like the light and fast mentality is sort of part of your mantra. And I wonder sometimes if like you guys sometimes like, and you hear about some trail runners who have got caught in the mountains and been died of exposure because maybe they went a little bit too light, right? So what's the mentality with you guys?
Yeah.
I don't go light. I don't go light.
No, hey, I saw your pack.
I don't do that.
I saw your pack.
No, I'm very like to be very prepared. So I would rather carry too many things. And I think, Art, did you ask me like how many things did I actually use that were in my pack? And I think I said like 2 things out of, maybe 50 things. I don't know. I'm just exaggerating.
Sure. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. But I'd rather have all the stuff. So I don't think I fall. I think you could talk to Josh and Art about that, but not to me, because I definitely pack more like a hiker. So.
Gotcha. That's, what I would say that for me, I guess I get a false sense of security from a weather report. Typically what I would carry, and maybe this is enough, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Typically what I would carry is a light Gore-Tex that's, a light Gore-Tex and a puffy, like, your standard Patagonia hoodie, right? Which, and I wear one over the other. And then ideally I would have some pants, but I have to say that this time I didn't bring the puffy because I was fairly confident, if that is, and maybe that's correct, maybe it's not, fairly confident that the weather was going to be okay. We kind of checked it out, and but I did have the Gore-Tex with me, so I was ready for that. So Josh, what did you do for that?
I was pretty light. I had, I think I had a long sleeve, and I had my Houdini. I had a bivy, a little one-person little bivy sack in my little first aid kit. And so I try to always take that with me. I remember the first time I went up into the Whites, I went from Lincoln Woods up onto Franconia Ridge. It was in late May, and I'd never been up there before as an adult. And the ridge line, all the clouds came down onto the ridge line, and I was in the clouds, and they were whipping from the west. And it was a very intense feeling to be out there, not to be able to see much. And, I had pants with me, I had a jacket with me, and I put everything on, and I didn't make it to Lafayette. I decided I need to turn around. I'm getting a little bit cold up here. And then I got back down and the skies cleared.
Mhm.
Um, and then I did the Pemi loop maybe a week later, and I had, a long sleeve. I didn't have much, but now when I go up, I went up in March this year, and I carried a bunch of gear with me when I was hiking from the Highland Center. Um,
Mm.
so I'm learning that you have to kind of take more. You always have to take more. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just throw this in there is that you mentioned a Houdini, and as a trail runner in general, Houdinis are an amazing garment because they pack up to the size smaller than your fist, and they will work 95% of the time, right? But I've been in the middle of the Chattanooga 100, and it was pouring rain, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and there was like 5 inches of rain puddle, there was 5 inches of water on the trail. And I had asked one of the race people about the weather report, and I handed over my jacket, I handed over my warm clothes to them, but being at mile 80, knowing that I had 8 miles to go before I had a Gore-Tex, and there's a huge difference when that rain is coming down between a Houdini and a Gore-Tex. Like a Houdini, the water just travels, it works all the time. It'll keep you, you'll sweat going up a hill, but going up a mountain. But as soon as that real rain starts going, it circulates through, and it's like you're not wearing anything, and it will, it can get you. But a Gore-Tex generally will get you, will for me at least, that made all the difference. I used that at the cut one year too. It just, the temperature changed, dropped to 45 degrees and windy, and I probably had 5 or 10 minutes. If that jacket wasn't there for me to put on, I would have been into trouble. And and at Chattanooga, I said to I found somebody and I said, listen, can you stay with me, because I feel like if I twisted my ankle, I'm gonna be dead in 15 minutes, or I'm gonna be like, I could be in some serious trouble in 15 minutes. So so I found somebody to run with. So that's my that's my 2 minutes on that, or five.
I think the problem for a trail runner can be, especially from Connecticut, you think, well, I'm going on a 4 mile run
Yes.
in Connecticut. I'm not bringing anything with me, I mean, I probably will wear some clothes, but you don't need much more. But if you do a 4 mile route and you're in the Whites, you could put yourself into a serious situation. Yeah.
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 I mean,
and I think there's a tipping point when it gets below freezing, whether the wind chill gets below freezing on a day that's above freezing, or it just as we get into fall and winter and early spring, where sometimes we really need to think differently. We need to think about surviving when it's below zero, right? And it's like a repetitive event that a lot of people haven't had the equipment out there with them to survive that 24 hours until that rescue can occur, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You have to assume that you are going to get hurt. And what do you have in that scenario to help you during that time? I recently, I told these guys, I recently listened to some podcast about a guy who his pole got into his thigh and he almost bled to death. And then I bought a tourniquet and I have that in my pack. It's not very big. I mean, it's like that big. So
there you go. Wow.
Wow.
It is.
Hopefully you never have to use
I know, but I have it, so just in case.
No, it's good.
I mean, to add something to that, but trail runners in general are guilty, right? We all want to be Anton out there with a handheld, no shirt, running through the woods, But in China had a ultra marathon in the mountains where the race directors kind of missed the weather forecast. They misjudged it or something like that. and people went up, and 20 people died of exposure during a race. A race. 20 people. They couldn't get enough. The weather was so bad they couldn't get enough people. They couldn't get the rescue up there to. You can't send out a helicopter for 20 people. You just, in bad weather, you can't do that. So, yeah, that's the thing. You got to be able to, find somebody who really knows what they're doing. Don't go up there and fool around. I think that's a great point that you brought up, though, Krista. So,
and we're fortunate to have the Mount Washington Observatory and their high mountain forecast, and that has always been spot on. When I've checked that and then gone out, it's like it's happened exactly. The weather was exactly what they said was going to happen. Yeah.
Can I ask, is there a difference? Like, do you approach the weather differently when you're in the Adirondacks versus the White Mountains, or is it the same thing?
I find the White Mountains a little bit more like exposed, like the Prezi Traverse and like the Franconia Ridge are really exposed areas. Most of the Adirondacks are just kind of like a lot of more undulating peaks or just like single peaks. But like would I pack differently if the weather forecast was the same in both areas? Probably not. Like I would make sure, and a lot of the time in the Whites, like I just wouldn't go up. Like the Presidential Traverse area is it's not good in a whiteout, right?
Gotcha. Debbie, have you ever been caught in bad weather that you weren't expecting? I would have. You have to have been, right?
Yes.
I mean, even a wolverine can get in trouble every once in a while, right?
I was attempting my winter 46ers in the Adirondacks, and I was going solo, and I was going up the highest peak. They're called Mount Marcy. It's over 5,000 feet up, and I don't know how I missed it, but about coming around the corner, heading for the summit, I only had about maybe 400 feet to go. The wind was gale force winds, and the freezing rain was coming down sideways, and I was almost in shock. I thought, that's not what the weather forecast called for, but I'm usually always prepared. So I put on my Gore-Tex jacket and my waterproof pants and put the hoods up, and I was forging away, but realized very quickly that I had to turn around. And as soon as I turned around and got behind a rock, I really had to take a picture of this. And I have a beautiful picture of at least half an inch of ice on my jacket, on my pack. It was glazed right over. I had microspikes with me, so I put them on right away, or I might not have made it so safely off that mountain, but it took me by surprise. And I'm happy to say I did have the gear. Krista and I are both of the same mindset. We carry our emergency gear no matter what. And I was in a group once that got caught out on a night in the Adirondacks. And it, thankfully for us, it was one of the warmest nights of April. The month was April. And I had a couple of extra garbage bags that I passed around to my friends, and they crawled into them. But I had everything that I needed to comfortably survive. You don't have to be comfortable, but you have to survive the night. And so you need to have something in your pack to do that with. I've been caught out a few different times, but yeah.
Gotcha. So where you had to spend the night in the mountains?
It was the middle of a swamp.
The
rivers were raging. We couldn't get across. It was spring flood, and it was a trailless peak, and our navigation wasn't working for us. There were 6 of us, and at midnight, I just pulled the pin for everybody. I said, everybody, stop right now. We've been at this for about 18 hours. Pick a spot, and we all chose a spot in the middle of a swamp, and woke up in a few hours' time, and everything's brand new at daylight. You can see where you're going. The headlamps are good, but they can only do so much. Yeah.
Yes, especially when it's coming down, right? When there's stuff coming down. So like one thing, like here's a little trick. And I mean, I'm not teaching you guys anything. Okay. I'm not even pretending that I'm going to be able to do that, but I've seen running where you go for a run when it's foggy out or misty out, if you have a headlamp on, you generally can't see anything with it because it just lights up the fog right in front of your face, right? So
Yes.
One thing you can do though is if you take off your headlamp and you can hold it low, if you put it in your hand and hold it low, assuming that you have a free hand, you can bypass, you can light what you're going to walk on, you get a different angle, and you get all that fog out of your face. So that's a little one thing that might help there. So
nice, good tidbit. Yeah.
So Debbie, you said something that like that, I think like the first time that I knew that like you were something special and that like you were that you had some experience in what you were doing is we were up on top of Owl's Head and the comment came up, we were talking about the Adirondacks versus the Whites, and like, I had just like busted my ass climbing up this mountain. And then like you came out with a comment that said something about comparing, like, how would you compare? I'll ask you the question now. How would you compare the Adirondacks, if you could compare and contrast the Adirondacks to the White Mountains? What do you think?
My personal feeling is the Adirondacks are a lot tougher mountains to climb, to hike, to navigate. A lot of the trailless peaks are very remote. There's straight up, straight down. There's a lot of slides. There's a lot of rocks, tree roots, mud, water on almost all the trails. They're tough little mountains to hike and to get through. I always found the White Mountains much more reasonable. The switchbacks are amazing. You only want to go up onto the high ridges in good weather, for sure, and for the exposure. And I just think that the Adirondacks are a lot tougher to negotiate than the White Mountains, even though they're smaller and shorter in length. They offer you more of a challenge, and I love them for that. And we're a lot closer to the Adirondacks, so we go there to train for our big journeys and our big adventures.
Gotcha. Excellent. Does anybody else have anything to add to that? Krista, you have any thoughts on that yourself?
Well, yeah, I'm not too sure if you guys have heard of like Will Robinson. Do you know him?
From Lost in Space, but sorry. Sorry about that.
So Will's been on a tear the last few years. He's a like trail runner slash peak bagger slash hiker, I guess. He's been doing all these records related to the 115ers. You might want to have him on as a guest one day. He started off doing a record where he thru hiked the 115. So he like literally walked from like the Catskills to the Adirondacks and did the Adirondack 46 and walked all the way over to Vermont. And he did that one summer. And then last summer he did like a speed effort where he was like basically going around from 115er to 115er, and he was self-supported, so he just drove himself and ran up all the up the mountains, and I've listened to him a couple times on a couple of podcasts, and he was mentioning how like more difficult the Adirondacks are when he's trying to complete that whole mission as a whole, especially in a speed effort where he needs to be fast. They're harder to run, right?
Yeah. Gotcha. Interesting.
Can I ask a question? Because I know you guys, when we met you at the top of Owl's Head, you mentioned that you were climbers. And I don't know if you consider yourself like more of a climber or more like climbers or more hikers, but in terms of, the Adirondacks, it sounds like, I'm assuming climbing is very helpful there.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of scrambling. There's a lot of like, almost every like hike has some sort of portion where there's like exposed rock where you need to like potentially use your hands and your feet to get up. It might just be like one move or like a couple moves, but it definitely comes in handy to have those skills. And even ice climbing skills in the winter, like knowing how to use an axe and crampons is definitely helpful. I wouldn't say that any of them need a rope or harnesses. But just having the idea and the eye to look for like handholds and footholds is definitely beneficial. It gives you more confidence. I know some of the people we've hiked with, are really afraid of those little moves and that exposure, and as in some of the places in the Whites as well. And it does come in handy to have climbing skills. So if you are a hiker or trail runner that needs to do some scrambling, just heading to like a local like rock climbing gym sometimes can even just help get over that fear.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I look at that because I know that, I mean, the issue that I have is that I'm just not faced with very much of that, right? I'm not faced with situations where, I mean, sure, I have, situations where I have to put, more than 2 feet, I have to put my hands on the ground to get up something. But usually it's not that thing where I feel like I'm going to die. So, I always wonder like what are things to do for that. And maybe Sleeping Giant is, we have an area, and I think probably going up the face of that's got to help, or maybe the chimney at Ragged or something like that, right? I think that's what you call it, the chimney there, right? So, you guys, Anna or Josh, do you guys have any other areas that you would think in the Connecticut area that come to mind?
Yeah, I do think if you did repeats of the Sleeping Giant head, you'd be in pretty good shape. Because that does have the element of you fell backwards, would not be good. I don't think there are a lot of places in at least like the southern middle part of Connecticut where you get that experience. There are definitely like areas to scramble, right? Like even like the AT up by Bear Mountain, there's a great segment there. That's really fun. But there's no like sense of danger there, really.
Yeah, I mean, you would just crack your head open and get a concussion. It's not like you would probably. I mean, you'd probably live, right? So
yeah, sounds about right.
From that, yeah. There's also. There's also something up on the AT or near the AT. Oh boy, now I have to remember the name of it. It's like called something like the Corkscrew or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Oh, you're or the lemon squeeze that we were talking about? You're not talking about that.
No. Okay, the lemon squeeze is in the Gunks. That's the labyrinth at Mohunk Mountain. Right. Have you guys ever been to the Gunks at all? Or the Catskills? Have you been to the Catskills?
The Catskills have
4,000
peaks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. What do you think?
To the Gunks.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys are like exclusive. You're exclusive with your 4,000 footers. Like, 3,000 feet.
They don't get out of 30. They don't get out of the tent for less than 4.
We don't drive out of Canada to go.
We have to come to New York State to get the 4,000ers.
Yeah.
Or New Hampshire.
I'm curious, some of your favorite peaks, some of your favorite hikes. What would you recommend to people?
In all the 115ers?
Yeah, the 115ers. I mean, I'm a little prejudiced because I love New Hampshire so much, but so throw a couple of those in there too. What are your faves? In New York, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, what stands out for you?
Personally, I loved climbing Katahdin and the Knife Edge. I thought that was pretty amazing. And then I have to swing back, New Hampshire. I did the Presidential Traverse in one day a few years back. They're all amazing. But the Adirondacks have some pretty stellar peaks too. I think one of my favorites in the Adirondacks might be Haystacker's Skylight.
Okay.
With all the views, the 360 views. But New Hampshire is pretty hard to beat. In Vermont, it's got, Camel's Hump up in there. It's a beautiful view on a nice day, for sure. Maine, all of Maine, beautiful.
Yeah. I think we had a discussion about Katahdin, and it is, I just want to mention again that that is a unique place as far as just to go there I think it's worth to go there just to look at the skies at night if you catch a clear night, because it has it's a zone 1 as far as the lack of light pollution there. So it's really there's nothing that comes close to it. In the Northeast, I think so. Or you have to go to Canada to find anything that's close to that. So.
Krista, I was just curious what your favorite, particularly memorable peaks were.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
so having only done the 115ers once, some of my peaks I did in the clouds. So you have to sort of take that in consideration. Debbie is really good to ask because she's done them so many times that she definitely have seen the views off the top. When I did Katahdin, but doing the 115 also makes me think about which ones I'd like to go back to. So I would really like to go back to Katahdin to do the knife edge, because when I got up there, it was shut down just because the weather came in. So I'd like to go back to that. I'd like to go to Huntington Ravine on Washington, these sort of more interesting kind of scrambles.
Right.
Just because that attracts me. And that's, I think, one of the reasons we are fast, slow hikers is that we do have confidence in our climbing, because the North Tri-Pyramid slide, which was also, I thought, really fun. We flew past everyone else who was frozen in fear, right? So but there's a lot of really great hiking and a lot of really great peaks out there. Debbie and I, another one to add to Debbie's list, we just did a couple weeks ago, we just did the Franconia Ridge, and I'd never been up there before, and we got up there on a beautiful day, and it's a stunning area as well.
It really
definitely
is.
a special one.
Absolutely
Spectacular. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you think of the Hancocks?
Because little mountains to get up.
Yeah. So Josh has been he's been trash talking, and Anna and I both have to do those. And he's like, "Oh, Owl's Head, you wait till you get to the Hancocks. Then the shit's going to happen, man. The shit's going to hit the fan there."
There's steep little mountains to navigate up there. Just keep going up and up and up and up and up. I think
Debbie and I hit that on a day where it was in November, and it was there was just enough snow to every time you took that step up that steep, you slid back down. So we weren't really getting anywhere fast that day.
Were you going clockwise? Did you do them clockwise? Do you remember?
No, counterclockwise.
No,
sorry, we did clockwise.
North over to south.
Yeah.
That ascent on the north is just terrible. It's
awesome. Rocks,
everything is loose. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it taxes your might.
I went the other way. I felt lucky. I was worried coming down the north side, but going up, I wouldn't have been happy going up that.
Yeah, I think I've done the Hancocks 3 times already, and I've always done north over to south. Yeah.
Wow.
Tough little mountains to get up, though. Straight up, away we go.
Yes.
Not for the wimpy at heart.
Does it remind you a little bit more of the Adirondacks, the Hancock?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Deb, how would you compare these mountains to Argentina and Chile?
Oh, wow. I'm telling you, the hiking down there is just absolutely amazing. I had the good fortune of going down to Patagonia in, I guess, February of 2017, and did some awesome hiking in the range down there. The Tierra del Fuego, or Tierra, what was it called? The three peaks. And then over to El Chalten in Argentina. You have to spend at least a week there to go hiking. That's in the Mount Fitzroy range. And I was just hiking. I did no climbing there. Amazing. If you've ever had an inclination, I say definitely go. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I've heard lots of good things. I have one of my friends has done some of that. I'm not sure specifically what they did, but that must have been quite an adventure, though.
It was quite an adventure. I didn't find the hiking hard, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it gradual, and the trails were well trod. Great marked trails. Yeah. So I think I found the Adirondacks a lot tougher. And I think the mountains of New Hampshire are beautiful, well-trod mountains to navigate.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. Deb and I have done a lot of international hiking as well together, not just in the US, but all over the place.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of the places that your listeners might be interested in is Iceland. I don't know if when you were in Iceland, or if you did the Lagavegard Trail.
I didn't, because that's far north, right? That's in the northern part of this. No, I was unfortunately I had my feet sunk in Reykjavik. So we had an Airbnb for the week, and I had to mortgage my house at home to pay for it. So it would have, so everything we did was a drive, so, but, I think, like, for anybody who's going to Iceland, make sure that that you hit the north.
So the funny part was when we were doing the Lagavegard Trail, which was 3 nights, 4 days, stunning trail. It's in National Geographic's like top 25 lists for like hikes in the world. So you have to kind of get shuttles to both ends of the trail. But what would be interesting to your listeners is that when Deb and I were on the trail, there was an ultra going on at the same time. So on day 3 of our hike, we all of a sudden came across this support station where they had set up, and we were trying to figure out what was going on in the middle of our trail. And it turned out there was an ultra going on that day. So I think it's about 30 miles. It's not super long, but
there's a 50K there. I think there was a whole crew that went from Connecticut, probably. I think it was probably 6 years ago or something like that. And I think, unfortunately, they had they had a cutoff time, which caught a lot of people by surprise. So I think there were a bunch of people who went and, were kind of up against cutoffs. I mean, I know a couple people finished, but it was, I think it was just stunning, everything that I heard about it. We also had the guy who set the FKT on that trail on the show. Eli Buchanan, Baccarin. Sorry about that, Eli, messing up his name. So I think he wrote a book he might have also written a book on on New Hampshire's 4000s. I think his name came up in our conversation. Josh, do you remember what his name is offhand?
Anna should know it. Anna. He's the guy who
I like that, Josh. Well played.
Oh, the yellow book, the yellow book.
The yellow book.
I don't know the name off the top of my head. I have the book, but I don't remember its name. But
okay,
it's an Armenian. It sounds Armenian. He might be.
Okay.
Yes.
Bukarian or something.
Bukarian. Yes. That sounds about right.
Correct. Yeah. So, sorry about butchering the name, but that's kind of what I do. That's my you knew that when you started listening, people. So. So I had him on the show and heard a lot about about Iceland through him. So, and that's extreme, talk about extreme weather there. Oh my gosh. Like when you guys did that, did you have like sideways rain suddenly, and then, winds of like 40 miles an hour?
I was joking. It shouldn't be called Iceland. It should be called Windland, because there's no trees. Like, it's just wind. So it's definitely something to contend with the entire time we're there, and on that particular trail, it's quite high. So even in July, it got below 0 at night. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. When I was there, the rain was the wind was so strong at times that I felt like I was getting physically beaten up as my jacket was like blowing, in the wind. It was just like I was like a luft sail, just getting pounded there. So,
do you guys? I mean, it seems like you've got a lot of adventures in wintry conditions, kind of more northern climates. Do you go to dry, sunny places, or do you kind of prefer the cold? I actually prefer like cold, wintry places myself. I mean, I do like some beautiful places in the Southwest, but I'm just curious if you kind of focus on that kind of climate more than like Southwest, United States, for example.
If the lottery system wasn't so bad to get on the GMT, maybe I could get on that. But yeah, no, I think a lot of our stuff's been kind of in northern climates. So we went to Nepal and hiked into Everest Base Camp, which was still kind of cold because of the elevation. Yeah, like a lot of we kind of get drawn, I think, to like those
right,
extreme ends.
I guess during the summer, it depends on if it's during the summer and we're doing a backpacking trip, it doesn't really matter too much. Last summer I was in Scotland doing the West Highland Way, and that was a 155-kilometer trek, but it was in the middle of the summer and we just happened to have great weather. So yeah, I mean, you have to be prepared for just about anything, but in Scotland, rain, but
yes, that's going to happen, right? So,
but when we did Everest Base Camp, it was October, so getting into, it was fairly warm, but it did dip down to below freezing at night. So you needed a good sleeping bag in the tea houses. It was cold.
Yeah.
Wow. So what am I not asking about? Like, I just hesitate because it's like, oh yeah, we also discovered gold in the California mountains or some shit like that. Like, what am I, there's gotta be something big. Like I'm going to find out like Olympics or anything, or like Nobel Peace Prizes, or invent, like, do you guys raise like, mountain dogs or something?
Oh, you're looking for some interesting tidbits from the past, or what?
You should ask Deb. You should ask Deb how old she is. That's what you should ask.
Okay, that's because I know she's retired, but yeah, I will go ahead and do that. Would you mind sharing that with us, Deb?
No problem. I'm 73.
Get off the mountain. Oh my gosh.
No, I hope to go up it this weekend.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So for me, like Deb's always been a huge inspiration, like to be out there at 73 now and still running up these mountains. And, I hope that I'm out there when I'm 73. I think we all, aspire to like, have that long game where we can still be active and be doing what we want, like, for all those decades.
Right.
Right on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Active.
That is like the hidden, dropping the bomb at the end of the episode, right? Or that makes it, like if we were talking about somebody who was, not that at 35 you would have the time to do everything that you've done, but like, that is very impressive.
And let's remind everybody that they got to the peak of Owl's Head first.
Oh yeah.
Well, we started at the parking lot at the same time, or we passed you and then you beat us there. And then you also, I think you beat us down too.
Yeah.
No, you
it
went
wasn't
for
a
the
race
swim.
though.
But well, no, at one point coming down, because we took the Brutus bushwhack coming down, right? And we're like, we said, okay, guys, hey, it was nice talking to you. We'll see you Tuesday. Don't forget to write, just text us when you get down to the parking lot, just so that we know you got back safely. And then we go down and we're like, I don't know, a mile or two into it. And all of a sudden we just kind of like maybe strayed off the trail a little bit or something, and then came back and I was like, oh no, this is going to happen. And then we look ahead and there you guys are hiking. The slow hikers beat us again, and then
that was funny.
That was good. It was perfect. It was perfect. And I think that, we all instantly connected up on top of the mountains there. And that was definitely one of the major highlights of the trip for me, is to meet you guys there. And to, and now.
It was such a pleasure for us to meet you too. And I was saying to Krista after, what does he want to interview us about? I thought, he doesn't want to interview us, really?
No, it's all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. That's what it is. So,
well done.
It is. So is there anything else that that you guys would like to let us know, or maybe that we haven't talked about yet? Or Anna, did you have any other questions?
Well, I was just going to mention at the top, I think Debbie, you said, oh, there's such great energy or something along those lines. And I loved when you said that, because that captures a lot of encounters in the mountains. When you meet people, they're hopefully having just the best time ever, and you can just feel that, and it like radiates out. So it was a pleasure to meet you guys, because you're so interesting, but also because you had that energy to you. And it's really a highlight.
True.
Likewise, for sure.
Yeah.
When are you guys coming to the Adirondacks?
Oh, yeah. Soon, please.
Yeah.
That's I think we're getting ready to do Marcy. We're gonna check the weather report.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Josh, did you have any closing arguments?
How was we saw you guys on Tuesday and you guys camped out, and did you get hit by weather on Wednesday? What happened Wednesday for you guys?
Yeah, there was a bit of drizzle overnight, and then we woke up and looked at the weather report, and it was just supposed to sort of dissipate. And so we decided to go for Moosilauke, and yeah, so we got there, we went up, and we unfortunately were in a cloud at the top, so I didn't have any views, but we got it checked off.
Yeah, all right.
It is a beautiful mountain, though.
Very good.
I was thinking about you guys on Wednesday. Yeah. Weather. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Wednesday, it was like I drove to Worcester on Wednesday, and it was like I took my life in my own hands. I went to visit the Boston, so a quick shout out to the Boston Bulldogs running club. I went to meet them on Wednesday in Worcester, and went for a run with them, which was a very special night. Got to meet the whole group there, and people that I had talked to before, people I had interviewed, but had never met in person. So got to do that, and I might have some I guess like opportunities to get involved for people out there that I might be talking about in a future episode with them. So all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your amazing story and your wonderful friendship with us. It's obviously it's just a jaw-dropping inspiration for for me, and I'm sure all of our listeners out there. For our listeners out there, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, of course, seek professional help, and we will see you all in a mile.
A mile and a
half.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So this leads me to one quick question. I know in the Adirondacks, anything above 8 inches of snow, it's mandatory to have snowshoes, and they ask you to have microspikes as well. Mandatory.
Yeah.
So is that the same in the Whites?
Anyone?
8 inches.
Bueller?
I have no
I don't
idea.
know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, I know a
You
lot
can
of people
get fined.
complain. A lot of people complain on the pages about people, post holing and not using snowshoes.
Yeah.
There's certainly
Yes,
like an ethos, like don't do that.
I was going to ask that. Like, do you wear crampons ever, or just like microspikes and shoes?
We sometimes bring crampons it depends on what peak we're doing. Some of them require almost crampons, but most of the time you're okay with an aggressive microspike. There's different kinds of microspikes out there. Some
Yeah.
are borderline crampons, but for sure you would need at least a pair of microspikes always, and snowshoes with aggressive traction on the
Gotcha.
snowshoes.
Like
Yeah,
when you
mountaineering
say
snowshoes.
Yeah.
aggressive microspikes, are you talking like a Catula or
No, those are the mild ones. I'm talking like
Like
hill
hill
sounds.
sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
kill sounds? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's a
Those are, I think those are like in between, right? Almost like in between the Cthulhu micro spikes and crampons, the hills.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, they're a
Yeah.
little more aggressive than a Cthulhu. Yeah.
okay, because I was talking to a friend who went up there and he just told me a story and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're still alive. So you know, that was
Oh, good, Krista, you're back.
yeah. I just saw her. She popped into the waiting room.
My battery dying. So sorry.
No, no, no problem.
Are you guys gonna take the detour? I don't remember, like, to Mount Height when you go this weekend. Will you go there when you're
to where? Mount Height?
to HIGHT? That view was like
yes,
unbelievable.
yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. Up the Carters?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
We have to do that.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, Josh and I went there and I just like could not believe it was so amazing, that view.
It is. It's beautiful.
And not a 4,000 footer, but just like, yeah.
I know, but everybody goes to it anyway.
Yeah. Good.
Sure. Yeah.
I had an experience once with Lonesome Lake Hut where when we checked online they were booked, but we hiked up there anyway. This was with my son, and we had booked a hotel, so we didn't stay, but we hiked up there and they said, oh no, we have rooms, we have space.
Oh.
I wonder, I mean, this weekend is a big weekend, obviously, but I wonder if you were to hike up to the hut, if there might be a cancellation or, maybe the online system isn't that great. That was my one.
Make sure you pack your Visa card.
Yeah, that was my, well, we also hiked
bring
into,
cash.
my son and I, on a Sunday, we hiked into Zealand Hut, and in the morning I tried to make a reservation, but their system was down and you can't call in on a Sunday because their offices are closed. So they had rooms available, or they had bunks available the night before. So I was like, okay, we'll risk it. There'll probably be bunks available. I had a backup because my brother lives up there. And we walked in and we paid with a credit card. They just like old schooled it with one of those lighters.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
2 weeks later, the charge came in. I got a note that we got the charge, but
awesome. Wow.
so you can, if they have space, if you have your card with you, you can.
That was one thing we loved about Iceland. We were out on this beautiful 55-kilometer hike through their hills, and they took credit cards everywhere at these remote huts everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember looking behind the lad that was taking the payment, and there was a case of beer there. And I said, beer? And he said, as a matter of fact, we do. So we got a beer and we could pay with Visa.
Yeah, listen, one thing is certain, the people in Iceland are not afraid to charge you for stuff, right?
We took freeze-dried food for the whole time. We only ate out once in the whole, I think, 3 weeks we were there. So we did a little bit of grocery shopping, and we stayed in the campgrounds the whole time. There was campgrounds everywhere. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I loved Iceland.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even get a chance to talk about like trails in Canada, for example.
That was, I had that as a question. Oh my gosh.
You guys have trails in Canada?
Yeah, we've organized a few. Yeah.
That a question I had was like, where should we go if we're going to be near, if we were to visit you, like, where do we go? Like, where is the place to go? But that can be, another,
Yeah.
A lot of questions.
Excellent. Well, maybe we'll have you in as an expert for Canadian Trail Fishing Magazine, and that'll like maybe push it over the edge.
Trail fish. Okay, you should talk to Krista's husband, Glenn. He's the expert on that.
Okay, all right.
You want to interview him
on trail fishing? Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Very
and hunting.
good.
And hunting.
Okay, it was so good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Art Byram, and
we got some banana defenders.
Whoops, let me say.
We do.
Sometimes my
From
fans of the banana. Are you recording?
Oh
Are we live?
We are.
So I was looking at
the
our
intro.
Sorry
our
about this,
episodes are
guys.
all
Let
over the fucking
me
place.
get this.
So I'm going to ask a stupid question that the answer is
How
going
is
to be
this?
312.
Belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury.
Do you think banana?
This is really
fruit
too bad
cake
that
will
Becky's
last on
not
the
here.
shelf? How many days?
My regular sidekick, because she would
312.
just.
Yes, just
love
like
this,
episode 312 of the
and-
Culture Trail Running Podcast.
I don't know.
From the belly of the Beast Coast,
going on,
Glastonbury,
Art?
Connecticut.
I don't know. This is pretty good, though. I gotta
Al
say.
said was too much, huh? Just ripping off.
We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about.
This is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
The language we use
I've had it.
explicit and raw like the trails we run on. So don't
What
listen
is
with your
going
kids.
on?
Kids. Culture was brought to you by Patreons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
Art,
That's right.
really- What is
Art, that is
It's still going here, and I don't know.
American Girl doll.
You guys, you don't like my
Just a
my
second
side
here.
hustle here?
This is really wacky.
her name.
Do we have to
Annabelle?
listen to the whole prior episode before we can do this one?
I
Oh,
don't
Debbie's
even.
leaving. See?
I just thought maybe I closed my blinds.
I may just leave. I'm gonna send that to. Usually, I have a co-host, Evil Becky Burke. I'm gonna send that to her because she is just. And I'm gonna hope that it doesn't happen again here. God, I have this thing started happening and I don't know why, but it's at any rate, I'm gonna just go into it and I'll probably edit that out as good as it is. So. Huge thanks for tuning in. Remember, Culture is 112% listener supported through Patreon. No ads, no sponsors, so you'll never hear us trying to sell you a subscription to Canadian Trail Fishing Magazine, Fessiton Rash Cream, or anything like that. Patreon helps keep us running, makes you podcast famous, and lets us know who is actually out there listening. Plus, it helps us feed the monkey, and monkey's hungry. Not ready for Patreon? That sucks, but okay, you could also subscribe to the show wherever you listen, and then the episodes will automatically be queued up for you. Also, be sure to thank our podcast famous Patreons whenever you meet them. And don't forget to join the Culture Trail Running Podcast Facebook fan page to help us keep up with your jackassing around and help us to paddle your douche canoe. Leave us a review and we'll read it on the air every single time. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all in a mile and a half.